Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the live stream, and great to have you here. Got some really exciting news today that we are going to be talking about. If you have not heard, we dropped another free tier course. Actually, just about half an hour before I hopped onto this stream, we dropped the free tier course, and it is called AI Fundamentals 100. So, this is another introductory course that is going to go over the core foundations of AI. And this is not a course that is, how to use prompts or, advertising. These are the best LLMs to use, or how to go ahead and maximize your efficiency using these prompts. Instead, this is actually a course that goes over how AI, neural networks, and LLMs work on the inside, the math that goes into it, how they're trained, how these algorithms work. And the reason that we did this course is to actually go and prepare people to take other courses on AI security that are going to require that foundational knowledge, or at least in my opinion, they are going to. So I see a lot of new faces in the chat. We're going to answer some questions. So we'll do Q&A here first, and then I'll go over the outline of the course itself. And then I'll do a quick demo from the course to show you some of the labs, because the course is actually built around a lot of labs, which is cool. It's like our other courses, try and make it as hands-on as we can. So let's see what's going on in the chat here. Have Zen Carter first. Hey, good to see you here, and nice to see you first. Ethan, yeah, you are second for me. So good to see you all. A lot of familiar faces, so it's always fun to stream with TCM Security. Did anyone guess the course? Something to do with AI prompting? Yeah, so the course is to do with AI. It's AI fundamentals. So not technically really anything with like prompting or using AI. Instead, more it's designed to teach people how AI works. How does the math inside that secret sauce that I think is like really mystified for a lot of people. The course goes over in what I've tried to make as beginner friendly as I can, how that actually happens. You can put in a picture or words or whatever into a neural network and then have it do something meaningful. Nice stream last week for Alex. Yeah, I agree. I was checking out that stream as well, and it's good to have Alex here. Okay, red teaming related course. So, good question and a fun story about that. So, I am working right now on an AI hacking course where this is like red teaming AI and LLMs, not using AI as a tool for hacking, but instead people are developing a lot of AI applications now and integrating chatbots and AI into everything, as you've probably seen. And this is creating a lot of security issues. And now companies are realizing that and say, oh, yeah, we need to pen test, our AI applications and how the AI handles responses. And can we, do prompt injection, jailbreaking, is there bias in them? All that kind of stuff. And that's what this course that I'm working on right now is going to go over. And when I was designing the curriculum for that course, I realized that I need to start off with people understanding how AI works internally, because that's actually how you understand a lot of the inherent risks that are unique to AI. Is you need to at least have a general understanding of what's going on under the hood and how neural networks work and how they're trained. So I started creating out this introductory section to that course. It was getting a bit longer and longer, as I sometimes tend to do. I just want to, give as much information and make sure that people understand things. And then I was like, hey, you know what? I think this would be an awesome free course. So I went to Heath and I pitched it and I said, hey, can I just take out this, first section of the AI hacking course and make it free for everyone? Because I think this is good stuff that like everyone should know. Literally, I think like everyone should know this stuff to help demystify what's going on with AI. And it was awesome. He said, yeah, sure, go for it. I love that idea. So that's how we ended up with this kind of quickly dropped free tier course, because this was initially going to be like the first 3 hours or so of that AI hacking course. And I've taken that out, made it free, and it's going to be a prerequisite for that AI hacking course that's going to be coming out probably sometime in October. So great question. And that's how we ended up with this free tier course. Interesting question. Yeah. So, what about using AI in a red team engagement for assistance, privacy concerns regarding leakage of sensitive data? Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of risks associated with using AI tools for red team engagements or really in any other type of business setting or where proprietary information is handled. So, this is also for like a lot of people are using LLMs for vibe coding is the term that's used, but even just more in general as like an assistant, whether it's Copilot or Cursor or whatever. And yeah, there's a lot of privacy concerns for how that AI model is going to be storing that data and what it's going to be doing with it. A lot of them are, free or inexpensive right now, which means that, you are the product and, they want you to use your tool to get hooked on it, but also because they want to see all the things you type and ask so they can further use that for training. So definitely a huge concern if you are using these tools in an AI, in like a red team engagement. And any tools you are using, then you should definitely be checking out the terms and conditions and have that all squared away by a legal team that's how that AI tool is actually storing the data, is in compliance with what you need, and whether they're training off that data and all of that. Is it going to be really soon? Yes, hopefully in October. So honestly, I'm really excited. It's like becoming such a fun course. It's this becoming such a fun course to create, and it goes over so much cool stuff. I built some really cool labs of like chatbots and interacting with them, and leaking secrets and retrieval augmented generation of like finding stuff in documents that they shouldn't have access to, prompt injection, jailbreaking, all that stuff. I'm having a lot of fun building it and working it out. So yes, it should be coming out soon. This is a precursor to that. So if you want to take that course, I would suggest go and take this one. That's down below right here. Go ahead and take that free course because it's going to be a required prerequisite for the hacking course when it comes out. Okay, are there any requirements for this course, the free tier AI hacking one? There's no specific requirements. I do recommend that you have either taken the other free tier courses, except for soft skills, you don't necessarily need that for this, or have that equivalent knowledge. So, like this course can assume you know how to, use a VM, read a little bit of Python, basic Linux commands, and probably would be helpful to like understand security concepts in general. So the help desk course, the programming fundamentals course, the Linux fundamentals course, and the practical security fundamentals course, again, all free tier courses are going to be beneficial. But I mean, you can just go ahead and try and take this course. And if you need to brush up on something else, then you can go and take a look at that. Great question. Can AI models be poisoned in adversarial machine learning to mislead detection systems? And how should blue teams defend against that? Okay, so to answer the first one, 100%, absolutely, yes. So there's a few ways that this can happen. So if someone has access to the training data, or there's like open source models being used, then yes, it's definitely possible to poison that training data. So just as like a really basic example, if you think of the most basic image classification that we go over in the lab of this free tier course, actually, where you just have a handwritten drawn number 0 to 9, right? So you can think of that representation as a bunch of pixels, and if you were to put in misclassified data, so maybe you have a bunch of handwritten ones, so just the one, and then you put like a dot in the right corner, not super visible, and then you misclassify that as always being a 2, right? So then if you goes through training. Once the training's done and the model's in what's called inference, where now it's just, doing its thing, making the classifications for you. If it starts to see ones that have that dot in it, well, it's going to think they're twos. Or if it has other numbers that have that dot in it, it's going to be twos. So again, you can do this then for more complex things like malware samples, or even people have done this for like facial recognition of like if you wear a certain design of glasses, then you can poison it. And you can also just find out adversarial techniques that can bypass or trigger misrepresentations that are already just present in the data without actually being able to need to poison it as well. So we'll go over that in the AI hacking course. And how should blue teams defend against that? I mean, this is really comes down more to understanding the tools and in the design of the tools. So, I mean, I guess if you're like taking open source models and trying to implement them yourself, yeah, that maybe you as a blue team should be cautious about that. But a lot of this is going to fall into the design of using those tools and the testing of those tools. Okay, will this AI hacking course be free? No, that one won't be. That one will be part of our all access pass. So right now, it's $29.99 US dollars for 1 month's access. You can get discounts if you go ahead and buy it in longer. So you can buy like 3 months, you get a bit of a discount. 6 months, the best discount you can get is to buy it for 1 year. We usually also have sales. So, I mean, next one, my guess will be around Black Friday. No guarantees, but yeah, that one won't be free. But there is almost like 30 hours now of free tier content, probably over 30 hours of free tier content that we do have. And the course that we released today is 100% free. No money required. Okay. How long is the free course and where can I enroll? It's about 3 hours. And there's a banner going down below, or Britt can also drop this in chat of how you could check out about this. You can just go sign up for our free tier. You just create an account. All you need is an email address and put in your password. That's literally it. And if you're having any issues with that enrollment or anything, you can email support@tcm-sec.com and they'll get you in. But yeah, it's entirely free. Sign up. You can get access to, there's now 6 courses in there with this new one today. Can you elaborate on what kind of AI-based attacked TTPs this course will cover? So the AI hacking one, yeah, we're going to go over things like prompt injection, jailbreaking, adversarial machine learning, scouting and fingerprinting of AI models, and trying to extract models and training data. So those are the main ones. It's likely that we're going to have potentially 3 of the AI hacking course and other AI security courses, because it'll probably follow a similar how we have done in like web, for example, where there's like a junior or introductory level, web, an intermediate, and advanced. So this would be the introductory level of the AI hacking course, and then hopefully be able to branch on then and do more complex TTPs and things like that. Yes, we're going to cover like some defenses and mitigations and the secure design or implementation, but it's also likely, and I think we are planning to actually then also have an entire course on designing and securing AI models and applications that are relying on some sort of AI or LLM in the back end. So yeah, just got another question here that relates right to that. Will there ever be a course around setting up an LLM and securing it? Yeah, so yes, most likely there's going to be a course at least around like designing secure applications that work with LLMs, or things to consider if you're integrating that into your business or workflow. Okay, what models will be part of the labs in the hacking course? So we're going to be using mostly the open source and free models that are available through Olama. So some of the earlier versions of GPT, Minstrel, Meta's Llama model. We're going to be using a bunch of those different ones. And for a lot of the labs, the way that it'll work is like you can actually pick and choose different models so that in the back end that changes, but then the front end code of the visualization and stuff and prompting is similar. So you can kind of see how the different models behave and what works on some models and doesn't work on others. Is there going to be a certificate of completion for this course? Yes, all of our courses come with a certification, including the free tier. And the nice thing too is it also gives you CEUs, so those education units that you need for other certs to make sure you can renew them. Those are going to be, certificate of completions, I guess is this question. Yes, there will be a certificate of completion. Is there going to be a certification exam for this free tier AI course? Probably not. I don't think so. Maybe for the AI hacking one, there would be. So yeah, like when you finish this course, you get, that picture or PDF that says like, hey, I completed this course. It's 3 CEUs. You get that certificate of completion. For some of our other courses, we have like an exam. And if you pass that exam, then you're certified and you get, a certification like the PNPT, for example. There's not going to be that for this course. There'll just be a certificate of completion. We are looking into that right now. So if you weren't able to get in right now for any reason, then please check back in a few minutes and you should be able to get in. It's also possible there's just a lot of people trying to enroll right now. When I was looking at the enrollments for our other free tier courses, they're getting very, very high and approaching the 6-figure mark of people enrolling. So there's probably a lot of people trying to get in and take these free tier courses right now as well, all at once. So I know this happened previously when we first dropped the course as well. So if you can't get in right now or there's a bit of an issue, come back in an hour. It will probably be sorted and all worked out. Okay. So I will keep an eye on chat and keep answering questions, but I do want to go over what the AI 100 Fundamentals course covers, and so people can see what they are in for. So let's switch over to that view. Okay, cool. Let's hide this. All righty. So I'm going to go over the curriculum right now for the course. And if people have questions about the curriculum, feel free to go ahead and ask them. So we got a course intro, like we always do, talk about what's going on in this course. Then we're going to do a virtual machine setup. So everything in this course I've contained inside of a virtual machine, and most of it's inside of a Docker container to make it really easy for people to bring up and not have to spend a lot of time setting things up. And then the first section of the course is an introduction to neural networks. So we talk about how they work, the math that goes in to actually fine-tuning neural networks and training them, and what are neurons, what's the weights and biases, what's the activation function. It really goes to help demystify what's going on behind the scenes and show that it's just math that can be trained essentially. So we have some labs in here that are pretty cool. I'm going to show some of these labs in the demo, but we go through actually setting up and training our own very basic image recognition neural network in this one. And then at the end of all of the sections, we have a quick check-in quiz, and these are just for you. You can choose to skip them if you want. I mean, they're not recorded or anything like that. The second section is an intro to NLP, which is natural language processing. So then in this section of the course, we then bridge the gap from like a basic image recognition neural network which is very easy to teach on using a black and white image where it really makes sense what the pixels, how they can be represented as vectors and then fed into a network. So then we take what we learned in that and we see how that can be transferred to natural language processing. So we talk about, a little bit of the history of natural language processing, and then how we can take a word, any word, and represent it as a vector of numbers that, essentially turns a word into numbers that computers can interpret and be trained on. So we do a lab. This lab is pretty cool, actually, where we take a look at the semantics of words and vectors and how we're able to do math on words. And then we take a look at how a neural network bigram and trigram may work. So we talk about what a bigram is. So if you're not familiar with that, it's where you just put in one word and then it predicts the word that comes after that. So you can use pure statistic probabilities to do that, or you can use a neural network that's been trained to be able to do that. So if you put in like the word the, what would come after it? Maybe like the cat, for example. And then we do a lab. So generally for anything that you are going to be seeing in this lesson, there's going to be then a lab that actually reinforces it. So we use a basic feed-forward neural network then for all of this. And then we talk about the pitfalls of that and how we need context in our words. So if we just use a bigram, for example, the cat, and then, the famous phrases like the cat sat on the mat. If we're just using a bigram, we have no context of the previous words. We talk about recurrent neural networks and how they were invented to be able to keep context of what happened previously. We do a lab with that and then talk about some of the disadvantages of that. And then we go and take a look at actual large language models. So we do an introduction to LLMs. We talk about the transformer decoder architecture, which is the architecture that is very prevalent in pretty much all of the chatbots you're used to interacting with, whether that's ChatGPT or any of those other chatbots you were talking about. Then we have a really cool lab. This is the one I'm going to be demoing, which shows how attention works and changes the context of tokens or words, which will make more sense once we do this lab here. But attention is really the secret sauce of how decoder transformer LLMs have really taken over and are so much better than, if you remember, like 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe even a little bit further back, interacting with chatbots, just like how bad they were at longer sentences and making sense. And then we've got our check-in quiz. So again, the course is about 3 hours long. It's kind of like a mini course. And so if you're just tuning in now, let me hop back here to my main camera. Yeah, so this is again, a mini free course. And the way it came about is actually this was going to be the first 3 hours or the start of our AI hacking course, or the 101 AI hacking course that's going to be coming out in October. And I pitched to Heath and said, hey, I think this would be a great addition to our free tier. Can I just split this out, make it free? And he said, yeah, go for it. So that's how we ended up with this kind of quickly dropped free tier course, because I was already working on this for AI hacking course, which that course is going to be coming out in October. And I am super, super excited for that. Okay, no section on how attackers abuse LLM, phishing, malware, automation. That's right. So this is like a fundamentals course of, if you want to go learn like all of that other stuff, you definitely should. And we're probably going to have courses on all of that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people really need to understand those fundamentals of how AI works so that they can understand, the limitations and what it can do. Because I hear a lot of people talking about like what AI is going to do or be able to do. And if you don't understand how it actually works, then, it all kind of just like can seem like magic, and, we can't differentiate from, what's buzz and what's not. And how the secret sauce actually happens inside. So yeah, no, there's nothing on that, because this is, I designed this to teach people how, as beginner friendly as I can, how AI works, because then we'll build off that And then we can, yeah, talk about how attackers abuse LLMs, and they use some of these foundational core properties of how they work and how the attention mechanisms work and how they do text prediction to their advantage to kind of twist those and do things like prompt injection. And if you don't fully understand how LLMs work, then you're going to miss out on being able to come up with unique ways that people are able to do this. And there's a lot of emerging research that's just coming out. Like, I see new prompt injection techniques that are just coming out every day. And if you don't have an understanding of how this core stuff works, you're never going to come up with those. You're not going to fully understand. So that's why we are building up from there. And personally, like, I think everyone should take this course. Literally everyone, because LLMs and AI are everywhere right now. And I hear so many people talking about, like, what they can do, what they can't do, like non-technical people even. And it's like magic. Yeah, it's like the unicorn, right? Like the magic of it. So the intention of this is to peel back those layers and say, like, hey, yeah, it's pretty cool and it's amazing what this is doing. But it's math, it's intensive computations, but it's not magic per se, right? So yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I made this course, but like I think everyone should learn and know this so that they have an idea of, yeah, what is AI actually doing. It's not magic, it's not Terminator levels, like how it works. Yeah. So anyway, that's why there's no section on that in this. But yeah, I'm planning on and hoping to be making a lot of AI content for TCM in the near future. So that is a great question, though. All righty. Do you find yourself enjoying building courses or being on the practitioner side? I would definitely say in that scale, I really enjoy building courses because I like teaching and I like the challenge of figuring out how to break down complex topics into ways that people can understand, and helping people get those what I call like aha moments where something complex clicks for them. I definitely appreciated that when I was doing more in-person live training, but sometimes I do miss being on the practitioner side and working on yeah, more of that. Like I'm very busy right now, not just at TCM, but in my personal life. Also, you maybe noticed I'm in a new studio. I've just been in a busy move. So like I haven't had as much time in my spare time is when I kind of do that more practitioner stuff, especially with IoT and hardware hacking. And I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time on doing that kind of stuff as well. If we're running local LLMs, what are the main security pitfalls, for example, model exfiltration or unauthorized fine tuning? So it's actually going to be more than if you're running local models in the background. There are like applications like chatbots or RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, that I've built, and kind of like how a company would build and then maybe interact with maybe not a local LLM, but making API calls to another LLM. So instead, we're going to be the more of the focus in that sense when we're running local LLMs is then, how can we abuse these, chatbot applications? Can we get it to say something offensive that a customer wouldn't, want their chatbot representative to say? Can we get it to leak confidential information? If it has access to tools like, some sort of MCP or something, can we make it do something with those tools that it shouldn't do in the back end? So that's what we're going to be looking at. Again, the local LLM is kind of just like the connecting the dots, where in larger corporations it would probably be API calls to like a non local LLM. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. But we will look at actually some poisoning examples or tuning examples of what can happen with open source. How much math is needed for the AI course? Like, honestly, almost none. So what I did try and do is make it so I extracted like most of the complex like vector math and calculus and things like that out so that I kind of do talk about it a little bit if you want to go like into more in depth. But what I tried to do is extract out the core concepts of what's being done there, like talking about normalization and like what normalization does, or what activation function does, or how activation is calculated from the weights and biases, instead of like showing the formulas. Because I think a lot of times when you like start, okay, I want to learn about how AI works, you're just like slapped with this formula that's got like Greek letters and stuff. And if you're not familiar with that kind of math, then at least for me, sometimes even I'm just like, I'm not even going to read it. And then sometimes the formulas aren't even that complex, but you see like the summation sign and like sigmoid and alpha and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, stop. At least I do that. So what I've tried to do with this course is to kind of like extract that math out into talking about it at its core concepts, so you understand what it's doing. But I mean, you're not going to be like an AI researcher by the end of this course. You're going to have an idea of what's going on behind it. So like, I don't know, like middle level high school math. It's basically all you need. I mean, if you understand a little bit about vectors and multiple dimensions and stuff's going to make a bit more sense. But yeah, not going to be needing to do like dot products or calculus or anything like that. Kind of abstract that out. How much programming knowledge is recommended? I would say probably take the Python 100 course, the Python fundamentals course. That would probably be helpful. But honestly, like the course, and I'll show a lab. It works off of Jupyter notebooks, and you don't really need to modify anything unless you want to do some more experimentation and tweaking. So I've already wrote it. All for the labs. Most of the labs are like as a visualization and tool for you to learn. So very limited. The Python 100 fundamentals course would cover everything. Speaking of Terminator, is that an Arnie on your wrist? Yeah, this is my favorite watch. The Seiko, it's SNJ. I can't remember. This is the reissue of it, but it's the famous watch that Arnold Schwarzenegger wore in the 80s for lots of movies. Okay, so if we got any more comments, I will keep answering them. But what I want to demonstrate now is one of the labs, just to show you what they look like and what you can expect in this course. So let me pull one of those up right now. And again, I'll keep reading through chat here, but I'm going to start here by showing one of these labs. Okay, so this lab is one of the last ones in the course. And this is a lab that shows the semantic transfer through the tokens using attention, and it does a visualization of that. So we're using GPT-2 in this one because, again, so to be able to load this up in a Docker container and then kind of like pause and tweak all the parameters and stuff like that, we need to use a lighter weight model, or else not everyone's going to be able to run this as well. Like, I tried to make this course so that like anyone can run this on their computers. So yeah, we're using GPT-2, and it's going to show the attention heat map. So I'll talk a little bit about attention and what this stuff means. But if it's not making sense, then definitely go check out this course. We talk a lot more about that. And this shows an interesting layer by layer representation of semantic disambiguation. So what I mean by semantic disambiguation is, in English, at least, we have a lot of words like bank in this one that we're going to be talking about. So if you say a sentence like, I'm going down to the bank, the kind of default meaning of bank is that financial institution where you store your money, right? But if you take the sentence, I'm going to the riverbank, well, now that word bank has a whole different meaning. So if our natural language processing, however it's doing, isn't taking into context those previous words before, then it's not going to understand the ambiguities of that word. And so what this shows is how LLMs actually tackle that through a mechanism called attention, which allows tokens, or you can just think of them as whole words, to be able to look back at all the other words and say like, hey, do you change what I mean? And how do you change what I mean? So we got a bunch of dependencies here that at the start, and it's also going to load the model. So let's go ahead here and run this. So what this is going to do then is tell us our test sentences that we're going to be looking at. So we've got, I deposited money at the bank and I sat by the muddy river bank. So these are, two sentences where bank has completely different meaning in them depending on the context of the previous word. So here we see the tokenization. This G is just, this is what the actual ASCII representation of how GPT-2 handles spaces. And then we can actually then have it do some auto prediction of 2 text prompts. So just talk about this. We have, I walked down to the riverbank and I walked down to the bank and. So this is just to show how GPT-2 actually just handles this. And we can see if you look at the river one, even just with river, it doesn't pick up on a huge amount of this. Now, sometimes it will, depending on how often you run these. You can see I walked down to the river bank and had a conversation with her. Never asked what she thought of my behavior. Again, this is GPT-2, so it's not the best, but it is picking up like maybe about geography, and it at least knows like, hey, I'm not specifically talking about a bank in the financial institution. But if we look at like this one, which is just the default, so all we've changed is we've taken out river here, and now our auto completion is I put my keys in a drawer. The bank owner was all giddy. I walked down to the bank, and I got the money. I walked down to the bank and I saw that the balance of gold was a little over 10 million. So even in this like earlier implementation of GPT, which I think this is from like 2019, not a very good one, but even just adding this one word, right, river to it, it's picked up on the context of, hey, yeah, we're talking about a financial institution here. And in this one, at least we're not talking about a financial institution. And I've added some randomness in this with things like temperature and seed values. So if you keep running this, you'll get different ones. And like sometimes this one will get stuff about water. It really depends on, how that temperature is set. But usually this one, the default representation of bank, you will get it knowing that it's a financial institution if we don't add any further context to it. So the next thing we do here is we actually go then and run through and create the attention context. So this actually then shows how much the word bank wants to look at other words that have come before it. So in attention, what happens is the word that we're looking at the attention for, it then goes back and looks at all the other words before. It can only look backwards. And it uses some neural connections that are learned in training to go and figure out how much it thinks each of these words matter to it, and then to enrich its own context vector or its own vector representation with that context. So there's multiple layers of attention usually. So in the first one for bank in a financial sense, it really cares about I here, which makes sense. It gives a lot of context to the sentence that like I am doing something with the bank, the person is doing something with the bank. But if you look at like a geographic context or the river context, you'll notice the darker the colors here, the more it's attending to it. So again, all of these, they're looking at themselves a lot, which makes sense, especially in the early layers. But this one's also, you'll notice like it's looking at river quite a bit compared to the other ones and saying, well, this much must matter for my context, this word river. So you can actually see then through the different layers which ones it's actually picking up more on. And you'll notice like for most of the geographic one, it is attending to river more than anything except for I itself. So you can actually see the summations of that and how much it is. And what is interesting too is you'll notice that like the geographic river, it actually cares a lot more about or the geographic bank, sorry, it cares a lot more about river than the financial bank cares about money, which kind of makes sense because remember that default bank already knows, oh, I'm somehow tied to money in its training and its vector representation, where this bank doesn't know that. So it's saying, oh, hey, river, I mean, should probably pay attention to that more. So then we can do a semantic analysis. So we have multiple dimension vectors here that are representing the semantics of this word. And if all this isn't making sense, this is why we build up in the actual course from very basic neural networks and building on top of that. But essentially, what we're doing with the vectors of these words is each we have multiple dimensions, and they can be trained to pick up on all the semantics of the word. And this is taking a 2D slice so that we can visualize it of some of these words and seeing how the context shifts. So for what we're calling the financial semantic space, we're taking some anchor words that we know are represented to the financial space: so loan, money, deposit, investment, and we're slicing across the top two dimensions of those, and then we plot the initial bank in it. So you'll see it's still actually pretty far away from those monetary ones. And then we put the geographic and bank representations after they've done that attention. So after it goes through that sentence and looks back at the attention and sees things like money and I, you can see the context is updated, and it brings this bank financial is now much closer in this 2D representation than it was before, which makes sense. That's how the secret sauce of attention works. And you'll notice even, the geographic meaning of bank has shifted over as well. And you might be looking at this and think like, hey, this is actually a lot closer to all these. So one thing to remember is that this is just a two-dimensional slice of a lot of dimensions. I think there's 100 in GPT-2, and it's so even if you just think about the third dimension, like this bank could be way off somewhere, and there's so many more dimensions. So sometimes this 2D representation doesn't give you the best, but what you can see is that it's also moved the geographic bank closer too, because remember, they both have like that I and other things that are getting enriched. And then also, if we take a look here, this one just shows the geographic one. So you'll notice that this bank moves a lot closer to things like sandy and water and river than it was before. So you can also see the distance from those anchor words. So initially, bank with no context is pretty far from things like deposit, money. And then afterwards, it gets a lot closer to those. So what this is showing is that that attention mechanism is picking up on that context and moving the representation of that word closer and closer and closer. So this is just one of many labs that go to help visualize how this is working. And again, there's quite a few of them. This is one of the last ones, so I want to show how this worked. But yeah, this is one of the labs. So got maybe about 15 minutes or so left here. I'm going to hop back out of the lab here, and I'll take a look and answer any questions that people have. You can just run this all on your CPU. It's all running in a Docker container inside of a virtual machine. So yeah, it'll all work on a CPU. I've done that so that for this one, it's not computationally intensive. Instead of focusing on the performance of models and like making them work really well and being like impressive and being like, oh wow, that text prediction or that image prediction is really good. Instead, they're more focused on how they work and showing that in a better visualization. So, I mean, it may not be like, perfect, like you saw in GPT-2, for example. Like the sentences that it's producing there, they're not amazing, but like you can see how the context of money changes it to how it then talks about, the bank being where they deposited money, or they talk to the bank manager, or they took out cash or whatever, right? So those core mechanisms of how that work, those transfer to the other bigger models. And really all that's been done with a lot of them is just a lot more training and making them bigger and giving more layers of attention and more dimensions to things like embedding, which really increases the size of that model and the computational power to run it. But the core concepts, a lot of them, like the very base ones, like how attention mechanisms work and neural networks and train and things like that, they're going to be the same for those networks. You just have a lot better performance in the bigger ones, at this kind of like entry level. Obviously, there's been like a lot of refinements and fine tunings to the math and things that are happening that are outside of the scope of this course that have evolved over the last 5 or 6 years. But like those core concepts are going to be present. Do my eyes get strained due to long hours? Yeah, sometimes they do. It's good to go outside and touch grass. So I got a new bike. So I've been trying to ride my bike as much as I can when I have time. So yeah, good to take breaks and not stare at a screen. But yeah, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. All right, gonna take a look back here and see if there's anything people have questions about or anything more to chat about. You just checked it and saw the course not open for enrollment yet. Is it due to go live today? Yeah, 100%. It should be live right now. It might be because we have so many people trying to sign up that it's having issues. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's going live today. If you can't get in now, check back maybe 15 minutes and then another 15 minutes. You should be good. Learn more in a 15-minute demo than you would have otherwise. Perfect. Love to hear it. Just check out the whole course. Britt likes to touch rocks because Arizona. Yeah, I get that. It's so dry here right now where I am too. Like all the grass is dying and crunchy, and I don't really believe in watering grass, so my lawn at least is quite crunchy and yellow. I promised Britt also that I would mention that we have 2 live trainings coming up. So SOC 101 is back. The very popular SOC 101 live training is back. And we also have the 80 live, which is a very popular one as well. That one almost always sells out. So definitely go and check out both of those. Britt can drop links to both of those down below. And one really cool thing that we have implemented recently from feedback is that without any price changes, the SOC 101, at least for example, or where they're the live version of a course that has a cert, is now coming with a voucher for that certificate as well. So that is pretty cool. Looks like Alex is back asking an interesting question. Let's see if I take a shot at it. Do you think the latest LLMs could pass security exams with no knowledge but reasonable prompting? Depends on the exam, but I think there's definitely quite a few like entry level, non practical ones that they definitely could, because really a lot of those are just like taking in the information, processing it, and recalling facts. And like, even with an LLM that wasn't specifically trained on that exam itself, like those facts are going to be stored inside of it in its, weights and biases and things like that. So, I'm not going to name any, but like any of the non-practical ones where you're just recalling, basic things about like port numbers or, what are acronyms or what's the best thing, 100%, absolutely. So, I've always thought, that those kind of exams are not a great representation of someone's ability to do a job or anything, because, like, I mean, lots of people could pass those exams with just Google too, right? So, I don't know. We all have access to Google at our jobs. People have been Googling stuff forever. It's a skill in and of itself, but yeah. As for other entry level ones that are practical, like an LLM on its own, like ChatGPT or something, definitely could be helpful and would make it probably easier for someone to. On its own, Probably not, but maybe with a little bit of tweaking, honestly, and some access to tools. If you're using like an MCP server or something like that, then yeah, I think a lot of them will be getting close to, or with just like a little bit of driving, might be able to pass some like entry level practical exams. Where it gets a lot more difficult is when you're getting into the scenarios where, if you're talking about hacking, for example, and the exploitation techniques are needing you to go, deeper than one layer, or kind of like um, piece things together, or look at one thing and take the information from that thing and then go do another thing. Those chains are not there yet, and I don't know when they will be or if they will be for tools. But if you're just looking for like surface level things, then yeah, definitely, I think they could probably also pass some of those beginner or entry level practical ones. So not necessarily say that takes away from those exams, because it's good to be able to understand how that works and to do it yourself. But yeah, um, yeah, that's where they're at right now. So a good question for sure. Okay, so we are getting to the end here of the questions. I see Alex said, yeah, like scanners, scanners. I mean, with a really good scanner, you'd be able to do well too at some entry level like stuff, and all of that low level, low fruit hangings for sure. So okay, we are getting here to the end of the questions and nearing the end of the stream. So again, just want to quickly call out, if you are just joining now or you were joining halfway through, we released a new free tier course today, Practical or AI Fundamentals 100 is a practical course. It's 100% free. It's about 3 hours long. It's available now on our free tier, so you can go and go ahead and check that out. There's a link to it. Drop down below here in all of the chats, or you can get to it from here if you want to learn more. And if you're having any difficulties enrolling now, or saying it's not open for enrollment, it's going to be going live today. It should be live now, but it sounds like some people are having some issues getting in. It might just be a lot of people coming in at once. Yeah, so just be patient and try again maybe in 15 minutes or an hour. So it's going to wrap up the stream here. I hope everyone has an excellent day, and thank you so much for tuning in.